Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Dating Made Simple here on the It's the Center podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson. And guess what, guys? Sitting right across from me, the myth, the legend, Bob Walls.
Tom, it's so great to be with you here today.
Nice to have you here.
What a treat this is.
Man.
As it is every time.
And you're looking good with your jacket and your black shirt.
I try to dress up for radio. It's got a face for radio. You might as well dress up for radio.
Well, you actually are on video right now, too.
Oh, that's true. Hi,
smile
folks.
to the camera.
Hi, folks. Everybody on YouTube, hello. How are you?
So, sitting right next to me.
Yes.
And we don't get to have her on very often.
No, we do not. We should have her on more
Samantha,
often.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Glad to finally be on mic.
Samantha's our intern.
Samantha's my long-term friend. We've been friends for years, have we not? And
we
now
have.
she's interning with us here on the big podcast.
Yeah.
It's a treat.
So we're missing Macy, but she's sitting over there.
Right, she's still here in the room with us.
Being an audience fan. Hi, Macy.
There she is.
All the boys will miss hearing Macy's voice. And on our controls, like always, Sophie.
Sophie, welcome.
Welcome. Good to see you
Sporting
again.
the glasses today, looking very smart, getting ready for finals, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
All right. So we have a guest sitting right next to you.
I noticed that. There was a new person here in the room.
She is not one of our
Can't
normals.
fool me.
But she's here, and this is Candilyn Newell.
Yes, Candilyn,
PhD, Candilyn Newell.
Welcome.
And she is an etiquette expert.
Oh.
And so what we kind of figured, Samantha and I, it was really Samantha's idea, is that we bring Candilyn in, and she's going to teach us all about etiquette. Is that right? Is that right, Candilyn?
I could only wish.
I better sit up and button my top
so,
here.
Listen.
Oh, no, not when you sit down.
Oh, okay.
Listen, everyone. The reason why we bring her in is because we want you guys all to learn proper etiquette on those first dinners and those first dates.
Yeah.
So you can learn to be gentlemen and
ladies. This is such a valuable thing.
It is.
This was your idea. This is such a great idea to do this, because I've noticed this over the years when I've talked with my students, that etiquette is not something that is commonly taught.
It's not.
When I was a lad, when Brigham Young and I were here, they taught etiquette, and that was part of the curriculum, is they taught manners and they taught etiquette, but we lost that. Somehow that disappeared.
So we brought an expert in.
Yes, well, good. Here we,
So
it's
Candilyn,
not,
welcome.
Just
Thank
listeners,
you
it's
very
not
much.
too late for you. You can still listen up right now,
here.
and you can learn everything you need to know, that a girl will actually like you and want to go out with you the second time.
There you go.
Well, the encouraging thing, etiquette is a skill. So you can just practice it, get better at it. It's like playing the piano. Some people come to it naturally. Other people just being aware. And you practice, and they can outdo those who are naturals. So it is a skill.
Well, great. Welcome. Glad
Thank
to
you.
have you.
All right. So right off the bat, right off the top of your head, if I said, okay, what's the one thing, the first thing that comes to your head that everyone needs to know, what would it be?
That etiquette isn't rules. Etiquette is a way of conceptualizing people. Etiquette is about principles. And I feel quite passionately about the fact that etiquette well practiced is simply caring for and about those around you.
Love it.
So when you're in this dating situation, your focus is really on making sure that they're comfortable, that they're having a good time. And when that happens, it's kind of this idea of both are edified if you're both having a good time.
That's amazing.
If you're taking care of the other one. So, and the nice thing about that principle is sometimes we get so wound up in the rules of etiquette. Principles work in Asia or in the Ukraine or in Russia or in the South America or in Cleveland, Ohio. The principle of caring for and about others works any place in the world.
I love that.
You.
It's like sitting down and caring about the person that's across from you.
Absolutely.
And what's making them comfortable, taking away from yourself and concentrating on your date or your guest. And that goes both ways, right? Both ways across the table.
Absolutely. There's a codex that talks about etiquette, and it's just simply facilitating relationships.
Oh, okay.
But then through different periods of time, people kind of burdened it with all these rules and ideas. And there are, quite frankly, internationally, there are things that you should be aware of because you want to respect the culture that you're in. But in today's world, students, people, anyone has access almost to the internet. And it's such a lovely thing. In our day, you had to go and find a book or something. It can take ages to learn anything. If you're traveling, you look up what's the etiquette for business cards? What's the etiquette for handshaking? What's the etiquette for food? All of those things are easily accessible. And the fact that you're looking those things up already manifests that you care for and about the other person.
Good. Very good.
Interesting. I remember one time I was in China, and the etiquette was you had to have a business card for every person you met. Because if you did not present a business card, that was a huge disgrace to the person. It meant that you didn't care. And if you didn't take their business card and give them one of yours, you were disrespecting that person.
Bob, here's my card.
Yeah, and you study.
I've got plenty of your cards, Tom. You can give one to me every day.
No, it's that idea of studying it and respecting the culture.
Yeah.
In a more Western culture, people will almost rapid pass their cards.
Right.
But it's great because when you exchange cards, you have contact
Ah,
information.
yes.
And so it's very, very helpful.
And you can see how that's, it's
Oh,
the relationship that we're
exactly.
talking about here. So we're going to put this in more of a dating culture. What are some of the things here that young men and young women in the dating age should be aware of that they should be doing that they're not?
I think, first of all, just more authenticity when it comes to when you extend an invitation on a date. Just up front, I'd love for you to go bowling with me. I'll be paying. Are you comfortable paying for yourself? Take that
Oh, yeah.
conversation out of right from
Mhm.
the beginning. If you're the one who's being asked, say, "Oh, thank you so very much. Should I pay for myself or will you be taking care of it?" I can't imagine how many times young men and young women or partners are in these situations and they spend half of their mind time thinking about who's going to pay instead of the
Right.
conversation,
We've had
right?
that. We've had that discussion many times
Yes,
around this
yeah.
table.
So
And so I
simply,
love that.
I think what you're saying here is that if you resolve that at the very beginning, it doesn't damage the relationship development.
not at all.
And that's what etiquette really is impediments to relationship development.
Yeah. Well, or it can be perceived. Etiquette actually can facilitate relationships when there's awareness on both sides. But if you're up in your head, worried about rules, worried about who's paying what, you're not focusing on the person in the conversation.
Right.
And so take that off the table. I think another thing is being very honest in the length of the time of how long
Yes.
you're going to be out.
Yes.
I'd love to go from 9 to 11 a.m. I think I mentioned earlier as we were visiting, one of my favorite first dates is breakfast. I think
Yeah,
it's
listen to
great.
that. Listen to that, guys.
So,
Mhm.
and women, okay. I think that's another thing. Samantha's in a class that I teach here on campus, and the next to the last class, I allow them to submit questions. And last semester, when the students asked, she said, "I'm just not going out. What can I do differently?" And being raised in the 70s, I said, for heaven's sakes, I fought for those privileges. Please
Yeah.
ask someone
Yes.
out
Yes.
yourself. And with that, you don't need to wait. Again, that clarity and respect, whatever your gender is there, is reaching out and saying, "I would like to hang out with you."
Yes. I'd like.
Because there are so many impediments socially, men are hesitant, women are hesitant. So when you feel so inclined, extend the
I would
invitation.
like to just point out that an etiquette expert has agreed 100% with us.
Right. I think we need to put that on our resume,
Yeah,
on our
it's-
bio.
Yeah. Do you endorse my book then?
We
Yeah.
do. We wholeheartedly endorse
Absolutely.
the book. Anyone who endorses us, we endorse
Yeah.
them right back.
There you
Because
go.
that's good etiquette. It's good etiquette.
Perfect
When
etiquette.
someone endorses you,
So
we
tell me,
endorse you. Right?
when let's say a young man, for example, wants to ask a girl out on a date, what's the appropriate etiquette for him to walk up to her and to ask her? You said, "Hey, do you want to go hang out?" Is it that simple?
I think it can be. I think we overthink it sometimes. And I think when we extend the invitation, again, clarity. "Hey, would you like to go out on Friday at 2?" If you're going to ask for someone's time, then make sure you know what you're going to be doing with that time. And that again is, count the cost, call the restaurant, take the most expensive item times 2 plus a 20% tip, and can you afford it or not?
There you go.
Again, you're not anxious about it. And then when you reach out to that person to ask, simply, "I'd love to go to breakfast on Saturday morning. May I pick you up at 9 o'clock? I'd love to be able to host you. I'll be paying for both of us
That's
and
great.
just have a great conversation, and I'll have you home by 11.
That is awesome.
Now I've got a question,
awesome.
etiquette-wise and appropriateness-wise. Say there was a young woman you wanted to get to know her. Would it be bad etiquette or would it be inappropriate to come up to her and say, "Look, I'd really like to get to know you better, but I'm just really tight on money. Would you mind if we just went for a walk or something?" Would that be bad etiquette, or would it be better would that show that you're not that interested? Should you wait until you saved enough money that you could actually take her out to eat? Or would you feel slighted if the guy said, "I don't have any money for you, but I'd just like to get to know you for free"?
Oh, my husband did not have indoor plumbing until he was 7 years old.
Oh.
So we
You know.
being an etiquette expert, I came from a very middle-class background, ate
Yeah.
hot dog, potato casserole once a week,
Yeah.
Ah,
And so I think that we have to have that desire to know doesn't have to cost money.
Right.
That
Very
doesn't
good.
mean I would endorse a couple of the things. Number one, I'd love to go for a walk for you. South Campus is beautiful almost any time of year and have a great conversation. Could I meet you at 5 o'clock and we'll have you back to class at 6? And then also make sure that you're saving up for those opportunities that are meaningful to you. They don't have to be extravagant, but sometimes saving up and planning for something can be meaningful and indicates interest in addition to that walk. I think we need to understand that just when we start dating doesn't mean that we have a spend-all, that every
Yes.
day it has to keep topping the last one.
And we found the girls don't want that
No, you
because they don't want the responsibility of you spending $1,000 on them. And Sophie went on a $1,000
Who would
date
ever do that?
oh no,
as an experiment. So
Yeah. I had a date like that. Yeah,
It was a failed experiment, but it was an experiment still the same.
Well, and again, that mutual obligation, and I go back to authenticity. Samantha alluded to it in high school, but again, if it's not working for you, the man says, well, I'd really like to do dessert. Thank you so much for bowling. I'm really not interested.
yeah, honesty.
Thank you. Just
So
that.
why were you honest like that? Why didn't you
Yeah.
take the
She was
advice?
in high
Why didn't
school.
you
Give her a
bring that-
break.
Why did you just bring that poor kid
I
along
had
and
taken
then
my class. Yeah.
made him meet
Exactly. I
your
hadn't
dad?
studied under the tutelage
Oh,
of
there
the
you go.
master before me.
Oh, there you go. Well, now we know.
Now, important to, you talked about money, you talked about the place, you talked about the time. How about dress? Is that important to talk about, or you just kind of hope that you're both on the same page?
Again, it's just clarity of communication. Just tell them, I'm going to be wearing jeans and a polo, or we're going to go, out to Utah Lake, so I'm going to be wearing a swimsuit under my clothing. So all of those variables that would cause someone that you've invited to spend time with you anxiousness, you're taking off the table, and then you're back to the relationship.
Man, that's so
So
good.
I think it's just, let them know. And then if they don't ask, if you're the one, again, on the other side, ask for the clarity. Oh, we're going out to Utah Lake. Are we just going to be boating, or are we going to do some water skiing? Are we going to be paddle boarding?
Right.
What does that look like, and what should I wear?
Right.
Quite frankly.
It's just so smart.
I actually have a question on that. So I have another bad date story before I met my husband.
She clarifies this time.
Yeah, she's cool.
Learned my lesson.
By the way,
I know how we play this
I
game.
just
here
want to
now.
promote we have an episode coming up of bad date stories.
Yes.
Oh dear.
And it's all about
It
Samantha.
sounds like they're going to star Samantha. Bad date stories starring Samantha.
So this guy asks me out on for a date, and he tells me, by the way, it's going to be really fancy. I'm taking you to the best restaurant in all of Los Angeles, super exclusive. Wear your best dress, like wear something you'd wear on the red carpet. So I do. I get together my best outfit. I'm looking just head to tails to the nines. He comes to pick me up at my door, and he looks me up and down and says, no.
Oh.
He walks away, and I'm just like, did date over or not? He goes out to the trunk of his car, pulls out a dress box that he had bought me, and he's like, I think you look like a size 2. Here, put this on. And
red
he-
flags
Whoa.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Whoa.
he gives me a dress to wear for the date.
Huh.
The rest of the date does not go well, and that's a longer
Did
story.
you get to keep the dress?
I
Yeah.
did get to keep
Ah,
the dress,
nice.
That's
actually.
the upside.
Yes.
But did you like the dress?
I did. It's just insanely immodest.
Yeah.
So how am I ever going to wear that again?
Hmm.
It is one of my investment pieces now because it's a $5,000 dress.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
No,
my
I
goodness
know that.
gracious.
The presumption,
Mm.
again, I would have thought if he was asking you out that he would have trusted you to dress appropriately.
Yeah.
It's another thing. I dated a man who we'd been dating for a while, and he actually took me shopping for a big event and, said, again, he was a wonderful person. Here's the budget, let's go to these stores. So I knew ahead of time what I
Right,
was
right.
working with. And he said, I think this would be fun. And I still have a pair of those shoes.
Hmm.
Wow.
Investment dressing.
Yeah.
But isn't there a part here in the relationship development that we have to be concerned of, and that's when people are over buying like that. When that's a big red flag for somebody
Huge.
because a lot of times, as we observed on the $1,000 date, there's an expectation that if somebody spends a lot of money on them, that you owe them something, and so you could see how that would be. Even saying, "Well, let's go shopping, and I'm going to buy you clothes for our date." It could be demeaning on one side, and on the other side, it could be very problematic, because if that's how this person deals with relationships, they're trying to incur the favor of someone.
Mhm.
I think that's probably bad etiquette.
Well, that sense of obligation, that's not what dating is
Right.
about.
You don't wanna
It's
create
getting
that.
to know another human being,
Right.
right? And as soon as you create those I owe you, you owe me, you've moved into a different sense. Even when you're married, that is
Right.
not what marriage should be. I did this, so you have to do
Uh-huh.
this. It's because you truly care about the other person and their welfare. And I think back to my friend, just to clarify, he didn't say, let's go shopping. He said, would you like to? And I
Oh,
was like, oh my goodness, yes. Knowing the shoes are good.
So
there you go.
we've talked about a relationship, and I just love everything you said about being honest and upfront and straightforward. I love that. Now, can we talk about some rules?
Absolutely.
Because I want to hear the rules. Let's start with the car.
Mhm.
So what do? Go pick a girl up, you go to the car, then what do you do as a young man?
again, the rule of opening and closing a door, and there are several things that a man usually will do, and it was historically, and that's where you look at a lot of Western etiquette,
Right.
had some history into it. And so initially with opening the door of the car was to make sure she didn't hit by a car or oncoming traffic, correct? It's to facilitate that smooth movement. Also, you're not both hopping out at the same time.
Right.
Now, with that too, something as simple as opening the door, it was to let women with bustles through the door because you can open your door and get through in time.
Right.
You know, you get a train and everything. So you have reasons why those things are there. With that, it's also the gracious thing to do. I feel quite passionately about you should never correct someone else's etiquette.
Ah,
And so
It's bad
I
etiquette to correct someone's bad
no,
etiquette.
because
Oh.
you're not really caring about them. It's one thing en famille with your family to help them learn a rule at a time, don't overwhelm them. But that idea of, I hear of women, well, I just sit and wait for him. And I'm like, oh, what would it look like as you part say, oh, I hope you would open my door for me. I'd really appreciate
oh,
that.
isn't this amazing?
Mm.
And
Or
if
on
he
the
says,
other
no,
side,
no, I'm not
you're
comfortable doing that, you say, okay, great, I can get my own door.
if you're
That
the young
tells you
man, you
something.
could say, I'm fixing to come and get your door,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Absolutely.
How easy
Yes.
is that?
Stay
Yeah.
seated. I'm going to go get your door.
No,
Yeah.
just because especially on those first, second dates, you're still trying to figure out the tempo, the rhythm
Right.
of the relationship. And part of that is that clarity of communication. I think I tell this to my class. I think I have a sign that says old woman coming through because I rarely touch a door. Seriously. Now, with that said, if I have a student that has a stack of books, I'm going to run up and open that door for him because that facilitates the movement. So it's
Right.
got this common sense layer on top of
It
it
shows
as well.
your care for him.
Exactly.
It's just so everything comes back to that.
Thank
It's
you.
just amazing. I've always thought that also opening the door is a bit of a safety move
It
as
is.
well, because I would just as soon her get in the car
Uh-huh.
and then me be outside by myself. So I've always thought it was a little bit of safety.
Yeah, it goes back to that oncoming traffic, oncoming people. You've just secured someone
Right.
and made it safe. So again, looking at a lot of that movement has a historical reason. And now you add the common sense layer and communication on top of it.
And the other side of this, you say, I'm thinking of coming and getting your door. And if she says, look, I can get my own door and I don't, you're setting parameters here that are kind of valuable. So if there's a woman who wants to get her own door, I don't see any guy that's going to complain about that. You know, if you want to open your own door, but I think the problem is if you don't address it.
Yeah.
And so if there's a disappointment on either side, then that's where the relationship gets damaged by the etiquette.
Or an expectation
Right,
that I'm just going to sit here till he opens the door, or I'm not going to open her door. I'll just walk out until she gets out of the car. Again,
That could be kind of a funny date story.
There's-
So I sat in the car for 45 minutes.
I've got a great old school
And he
Mormon
came back
act. You
with
need to
another
look
girl.
at it.
So I mean, I think you mentioned this before, but should she just sit in the car and wait, or should she just, because he walked in, should I care about the fact that he walked in?
Just
Just
get out of the
and-
car
Yeah,
and go.
if he
in.
says that he's not going to get, or they have not had the opportunity for that conversation, she should get out.
Just get out herself. All right. What
Yeah.
about going into a place?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm old school, right? I reach out and open the door.
Well, and this is the other thing that, again, I grew up, I'm third wave feminist. I feel really strongly about these things, that someone opens your door is not a commentary on your intellect or your capability or your physical ability. It's a service.
Right.
Mhm.
And so
that's
if
so
a
good.
man approaches the door and opens the door for me, I simply say thank you.
He's providing a service to you.
Exactly. It's not
That's
a
a wonderful
commentary
way
on
to
less
look
than
at that.
more. Now, if he doesn't, obviously, and again, back to your idea, these parameters that we're saying, well, she doesn't want the door open or he does, are those going to be meaningful in your
Right.
future relationship? You know,
Right.
that means a lot to me. No, it doesn't. And have that conversation.
Okay. All right. So we talk about dinner here.
Yes.
We're in the restaurant now. We've opened the door.
Well, and one more thing about cars. If a man does open a car for a woman, please make sure, and we illustrate this in class, as she's seated, open the door, and oh my goodness, in the air, there is the most unique bird you have ever seen in your life, and your eyes stay on that bird
Oh.
while she gets in and out of the car because it's awkward. Especially sports cars are the worst, low ride, or trucks that you have to kind of hoist. Do not hoist her in and out of the car. She's competent, she's capable.
All right.
But if you can distract your eye line, and then when she's seated, then close
very
the door.
good.
It's
Very
just a
good
gracious thing
suggestion.
to do.
Very good. Wow. We're learning all kinds of things.
Tell ya.
Learning all
Who
kinds of
knew?
things I've done wrong.
Who knew?
Okay. So we're sitting down at the table.
Yes.
Okay. And we won't talk about pulling chairs out and those
Yes.
kind of things. So how about the ordering process? Now that usually is dictated by the
No,
server.
But Tom, I want to come back to one thing here because I've heard this for years and years and I've done it. And that is that when you seat at the restaurant, I've heard that it's appropriate to let the young lady look out at the restaurant and you look at only her. So if there's two seats here and one has got a wall behind it and the other has the restaurant, you let her sit in the seat so she can enjoy the full bouquet of the restaurant, and you're just focused directly on her. Is that true, or is that just something my wife made up? Well,
No, you take that, but let's put another common sense layer on it. How about the person who extends the invitation makes it the person who they take into dinner has the best seat?
oh, okay. Well, see, that I like
I
this
love that.
because I never get the bad. For 44 years, I've had the bad seat.
I love
And
that.
then the other side of this,
Is to the monitor.
So
Mhm.
I like that, is make sure that your date gets the best seat.
right?
That's so easy. And again, it comes right back to caring
Absolutely.
Mhm.
about the person. All right. So any table etiquette? I mean, we have some people that are young and don't really know. So what are some of the real serious do's and don'ts?
Elbows on the table.
Well, and again, cultural, right? And so you have to be cognizant of cultural expectations. And first of all, is I feel really passionately about this. People almost become paralyzed during dinner because of silverware or what goes where and how can I talk? Like, the principle for meal etiquette, remember the foundation is caring for it about others, it's the person, not the plate. So
Hmm.
when you sit down, you see all that silverware, look at it, and 98% of the time, as long as you work from the outside in, you're going to be fine. My experience, 14 different kinds of forks. And I'm sure I'm going to discover more along the way.
Yeah.
But that idea, just simply, and don't feel that there's a right and a wrong way to use the utensils. So many times we say, well, it's more proper to eat with the back of your fork and knife instead of eating American style where you're switching back and forth. Those are simply different ways of using your utensils.
Right.
How many of us use chopsticks? That doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's simply different. I think in life, we sit by left-handed people all the time, and we never notice because they go about eating nicely with their utensils. They're not making a fuss. But if you're trying to eat with the back of your fork and knife and you're not comfortable doing it, you're not thinking about the person. You're
Right.
thinking about the
Right.
plate,
Right.
right? And so it's that idea,
Wow.
just slowing things down, really focusing on the person. Smaller bites just always work because that facilitates conversation, right? Okay. And just kind of move through that idea. Most of the table settings are going to make sense. Glasses are above the right hand, so they're straight above you so you can drink. When you sit down, as far as the menu, please, again, give the cues. If you're the host at a business dinner or it's a date, simply say, I love this restaurant. Tonight, I think I'm actually going to have the chicken pasta, but the lobster here is fabulous. Please order what you would like. And then you've taken all the anxiety out of that business dinner. Everyone's not ordering chicken pasta, or your date doesn't
Right.
feel like they have to order chicken pasta.
Because we tend to order
We
the
take
same
the cue,
level.
that or less.
Like what you just ordered was $12, so I'm going to go $12 or less here.
Right.
Right.
And think how much time we spend worrying about that when we could just focus and facilitate that relationship.
Right.
Now, if the host doesn't, again, the other side of that, the person on the other side is, oh, this is an incredible menu. You could say, what do you think would be appropriate to order? Can you order?
So great.
And then we play the game of threes in our family. I feel quite passionately about the fact that you'll be in the car. It's Friday night. You have your date or your husband. And where would you like to go to dinner, honey? Oh, I don't care. Oh, great. We're going to Taco Bell. He should have known I wanted to go to Chick-fil-A. And nobody reads. And so this is the better, more appropriate conversation, whether it's what movie to watch, where to eat, is, hey, honey, where would you like to go to dinner? I was thinking Taco Bell or McDonald's or Burger King. Yeah, those sound good. I was thinking Chick-fil-A. But by the very fact you've articulated preferences, they don't
You've
have to be
given
your
three-
favorites. Yeah, you articulate three preferences.
I love it.
You've created a conversation. And the other person that says, yeah, those sound, or no, you've created that back and you're getting to know them rather than assuming that they're a mind reader, because no one is.
That's so good. I'm going to use that.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to use that on my wife this weekend.
It saves
You
a
gotta
lot
start
of
report
heartache.
back to us.
All right. So I've got to ask this because
Yes.
every time you're eating with someone,
Uh-huh.
they time it out to where just as you put something in your mouth, they ask you a question. Every time.
It's the
And you
Peter
think they do it
principle,
on
right?
purpose? You think that's intentional?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not intentional, but it just times out that way.
Oh.
So what do you do? What's
You
the
simply, if they've asked a question, just hold your front and signal, I've got a second. If you've taken smaller bites, you'll be able to navigate that more easily, but just simply put your hand, just a moment. But don't choke yourself or spit it out or any of the following. Just, again, common sense coupled with a gracious concern for the other person.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
and I feel, again, passionately about this, is that we learn about people and cultures by eating their food, whatever that is.
Mhm.
Right.
And so it's one of the very few absolutes I have in my class, other than 3 texts in a row is a conversation, pick up the phone. Okay, number 1. Number 2.
We'll get back. I want to get back to that one.
And when you're served something, unless you're truly allergic, you eat 3 bites of everything that's served to you, because that's how you learn about cultures.
Mm.
And now, if you're going to gag and die, it's not polite to die during dinner, so don't eat it. But I think too many times we excuse ourselves from the adventure of eating new foods or unique foods because we don't like it. As far as quantity, having served in Stockholm with several 398 missionaries, they oftentimes would go into someone's home, and they were given such a bounteous offering. And the question was, I can't eat it all. And I said, what you need to do is make sure you have a bag with you that you can say, this has been an amazing meal. I've brought a bag. I really want to re-enjoy this tomorrow for lunch. Now, for women, men, whoever needs to only eat a small amount of food, again, up front, you don't share usually at the restaurant. Why? Because it's a distraction. You're not focusing on the people and the food. And so you'd simply say, that you're going to dinner because you already had the conversation, right? You've been honest. And then if it's a very large serving, I see nothing the matter with taking food home, even in the finest of restaurants. And in Paris, it makes them absolutely nuts. And that's one of the things I can't agree with the French food is I will take my food home.
That's the only thing? That's just the one thing you can't agree with the French on.
Well, I love the French people, actually.
Okay, so the date's coming to an end.
Yes.
You walk the young woman to the door.
Yes.
Now, is there any etiquette here?
Oh, so much
Now,
etiquette.
the only thing that I know is from watching Hitch.
Yeah. Shaking the keys, that's all we know. Leaning in, that's all we know.
And this is something, again, being a counseling psychologist and then a sports psychologist, for some reason, we have equated that obligation. If someone takes you out, you get kissed. I'm sorry, first date makeout does not exist.
Excuse me? Wait, what? Whoa. Whoa.
And that's the expectation, right?
Well, she said make out. I'm not about making out.
We need to have her on the show every week now. In fact.
There are two, if people were aware, there are what we call 2 funnels of intimacy. One is your physical intimacy. The other kind of congregates or aggregates your social, emotional, your those intimacies. And so do you know 5 things about someone? Do you know their favorite ice cream? And then you ask, may I hold your hand? What a gracious, lovely, amazing thing to say. May I hold your hand? That respect. And then it goes back to, and I'm all for kissing. Kissing is amazing. And let's simply ask and respect. And it slows down the relationship so that when we drop down that physical intimacy so quickly, we're not really linked. That ability to really keep the relationship growing is compromised because we're not taking that forward idea of really getting to know them spiritually and socially and mentally. And so kind of 5 things as a rule, I throw that out there. But yeah, and then what happened to, may I kiss you on the cheek? Why is it first date to make out? There's so many things before then, and it just makes things.
I think maybe, and the ladies in here can correct me, but I think maybe the hug is maybe the one that you get most often.
Yeah,
on a first date. Is that right, Macy? What do you think?
Yeah,
But can you hug? May I give you a hug?
Right.
I made my husband he's a hugger, and not everyone likes to be hugged. And I told him, I said, honey, it would be really helpful if may I give you a hug? And some people aren't comfortable with it, and that's just respecting. Going back to the principle of caring for and about others. You're really trying to keep them
Does it have to be vocalized, or can you just say,
this has got to be. I hope this is live.
I'm coming in.
And she could give the stop sign there. So.
If we could be comfortable talking about money, why can't we be comfortable talking about intimacy?
Wow.
True. So true.
Very good. So you say yes on kissing of the first date. Or...
No.
We have an episode.
I think that was
we have an episode called The Great Kiss Debate, and Bob and I are on opposite sides of it. So.
Your relationship is an outlier, perhaps. Okay. I'm so sorry.
So now it's the end of the day, and she's back home and everything. It's the next morning. How soon is too soon to call?
Or text.
Or text.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a texting age, aren't we?
I'm a great fan of expressing gratitude. And my husband and I believe, got engaged 6 days later because of a thank you note. I would do that in a business situation. If someone had taken me to dinner, I would let them know the next day, either through a text or through a hard copy. Thank you note. Thank you so much for the time. Now, if they text and say, hey, I had a wonderful time, I'd love to go out next time, and you don't want to, this is a little bit of a stretch here. I really encourage what I call give the person a chance for a second date. First dates, there's so much pressure.
Right, right.
And you oftentimes don't get to really know the person. So unless they're truly an axe murderer and you figured that out, then I really say give them a second chance. But second date in, you probably have a pretty good idea if this is going to go anywhere.
Right.
And just be honest. Don't lead them on like it's me, it's not, it's you, it's me. No, just, thank you very much for the time. I'm just not interested in going any further.
Now, years ago, when Bob and I first started doing this, we talked about the after date text. And we were really opposed to it.
We had never heard of this before. It was new.
We were really opposed to it. We thought it was the stupidest thing. And then I, under certain circumstances, started dating again. And I found out how really important that after date text is. And so a lot of times you'll go on a date and then you'll, at least as the guy, you'll get that text, which just means, hey,
this
she's
was
interested.
Good.
She thanked me.
I want to see you again.
Right. So how about the after date text?
Never resist a generous impulse. I think that's absolutely a lovely thing to do. And texting really is a gift of communication. It's not the replacement for talking, but use it as an addition to a reinforcement for the relationship. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Since you said that earlier, you said 3 texts to phone.
Yes.
Okay. You got to go through this for us.
Okay. Again, and I'm seeing it professionally. I work with students as they get prepared to go into graduate schools for interviewing or in industry. And with that, we're losing the ability to really articulate our thoughts and be able to speak out loud. We're reducing ourselves to acronyms and reduced to emojis.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which are wonderful. I love being able to text my husband or, if he's traveling and he won't get it for a while, or my granddaughter, she's in a soccer match. That is a gift of communication. It does not replace conversation. And so I think after 3 texts in a row, you've got the basis for, hey, it's probably easier to pick up the phone and talk here. Now, that's a very wide generality. It's just a rule of thumb. But ask yourself, hey, we've been doing this. Should I pick up the phone and talk?
So you just shocked every 18 to 30 year old.
I know. And the whole class, every time I teach this every semester, they go, oh, it's like, I have a rule on standing ovations too, but we could talk about that. There's a couple of shocking moments in the class.
I've had students tell me that the phone app on their phone is just an annoying app that they have to deal with. So, but I think the ladies here have all told us, and the ladies we've had on the podcast, is they love the phone call.
Yeah.
They love for you to actually call and talk because it shows that you're genuine. It shows that you're actually interested.
And there's nuance that can't be communicated in text. We see it with the development of AI. It's going to take a long time to get an AI that's a person.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say, because we can't understand nuance. We don't see body language. We can't hear tone. And there can be, I think, more room for misunderstanding with text.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
also, I think there's more room for a richer relationship with conversation.
Oh, I'm just taken back.
I'm really nervous here now.
No, that was like a mic drop moment.
Yeah, I mean,
These are really heavy, though.
It's like, what else do we say? So get on the phone, guys.
Yeah.
And women.
And women.
And women.
Get on the phone, men and women. Yeah.
Good. Well, this has been fascinating.
We love this.
This good information to know for our listeners to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we learned lots of things. And I think
Yes.
the most important thing that we learned was care about the other person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And if you do that, all the etiquette just kind of falls into place.
Right.
It does. The etiquette was there to help the relationship, not to take away. And then, as I said, over time, it became to stratify classes, and that's never what it was about. So when you understand what it is about, then you can understand. It's good to know the rules and understand the rules are there to help, not to
Right.
take away.
Wow.
Well, Candilyn, this has been fascinating. I'm sure the students in your class really learn a lot more. It's a semester-long class. that
It
they
is.
teach. Now, you've also written a book.
I'm in the process, pitching it to an agent. The end. It's
Wow.
not going to be a big fat book. They're usually etiquette books are about 2 to 3
Yes,
inches
they are.
thick. And so I
A
have
lot of pictures, the kind of books I like.
absolute drawings just for you. No, it just talks about the 7 principles and then that foundation of caring for and about. And instead of, 3 inches of rules, if you can just keep those principles in mind, it really, I've been told by students, and I know, and I have a website going live in January.
Okay. You want to tell us what is that website?
It's going to be candilynewell.org, something.
Candilyn Newell something.
Yes,
something.
I will let Samantha know. And when
Okay.
I have the address, and just 5 minutes of your time every other week, no more than 5, just kind of talking through the 7 principles and how they work in life. One last note, please, in your day, remember to say please and thank you.
Oh.
It makes a difference.
Now there's your mic drop right there.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Very good. Now, before I let you go, can you give us a little teaser on the title of this book?
Yes.
You want to throw that out yet?
Well, you heard it. It's The Person, Not the Plate, Principle-Based Etiquette.
I love it.
That
Thank
is
you.
great.
Now, the agent
Very
might totally,
clever.
the book house might, but I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's
And
too clever.
interestingly, that principle came from a student. I couldn't figure out how to capture that, and
That's
a student
great.
came in, so
That's
I'm
great.
grateful.
Must have been an advertising student.
Definitely calms.
Yes, very much so. Well, wow. Thank you, Candilyn. This has just
Yes.
been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate you taking your time. And I think that everyone that listened to this podcast is going to learn something. Macy, Sophie, did you learn anything?
So much.
So much.
There we go.
You're
So-
both so gracious. Thank you.
Well, Samantha, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Great
introducing
to
us
be
to
here.
Candilyn.
And if I can
Yes.
just say, Professor Newell's class is one of the best that I have taken at BYU. So if you are looking for a class, students who are listening to this, take her
Tell us the class.
professional etiquette.
We have a lot of BYU students that
Yeah.
listen. Just tell us what the class is.
Student Development 319, Professional Etiquette. I'm only teaching an evening section because I'm teaching a day section of another class. And I'm just an adjunct at this point. It does tend to fill quickly. It's supposed to be a top 10 class at BYU.
Wow, I
But,
believe that it is.
Yeah.
But please, if they've heard the podcast, have them email me and I'll find a way to fit them in.
Okay, very
So,
good.
Great.
I
Thank you.
I think it's really good. And we see this with our students going out with internships, going out
Yeah.
and talking to people.
It's huge.
There's so many
Mm.
things that they need to know
Yes.
to be into those.
Beyond just dating. It's-
So-
yeah.
Wonderful. Bob, thanks for being here.
No, it's great to be here. It's always fun.
Thank
I
you,
learned so
thank
many
you.
things.
Sophie, you're not on mic, but you're on the controls. But thank you again.
Mhm.
You're wonderful. Macy, thanks for being here.
Of
We
course.
appreciate you. You guys can hear Macy in the background.
Yes.
Well, this is wonderful. So thank you. And guys, listen, we have a website. Did you know that?
I did know
You
that.
did know that.
I-
Samantha,
I-
you
I
were
built the
you were
website.
heavily
Yes.
involved in creating. Tell everybody what the website is.
So the website is going to just direct you to all of our really awesome stuff. We've got a fantastic blog. A lot of Bob's students have written blogs for us. I've written a
Right.
couple of blogs on there. And yeah, just a connection to all of our videos.
And great photos that
Great
accompany
photos.
each of the blog posts. You
How
got to
can-
see those.
How can you get to it? How can we all get to it?
So it is the Dating Made Simple, IJD for It's Just Dinner, .com.
.com. Very easy.
Mhm.
Datingmadesimple.com.
We're big time. We've got a .com.
And
We've
look,
got
we
everything.
also are on Instagram. Dating Made Simple on Instagram. And look, we're putting tons of stuff out now. Got
Right.
lots of quotes from our guest, Candilyn. You're going to be up on Instagram pretty soon,
Oh,
giving all these great tips. We're going to just put them up one at a time and let them hear that.
well, thank
So,
you.
but
Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Guys, go to Instagram, check out our Instagram posts, like them, give us some DMs, tell us what you think, comment. Sophie's going to respond back to you as much as she can there. So, all right. Well, thank you guys very much. Appreciate you coming. This has been so much fun.
Yes.
And listen, just go have fun out there, would you?